Last weekend at the Bay Area Family Church, I wasn't here. I missed you guys. Eleanor and I were at a seminar at the Bay Area around the issue of tribal messiahship. How can we fulfill our mission as messiahs ourselves? Rather than, we're counting on God and Jesus to take care of everything for us, how can we fulfill our responsibility in our mission? So I want to share something about that, build off of some of the things that Eric shared in the message. I was able to watch the video. I could get the rerun of the sermon, building on the message about worship and fellowship and discipleship, ministry, and mission. And really, that our mission in life is to invite people to grow. We want to be people who encourage and help others to grow and develop, to know and experience God in a deeper and more profound way. So I want to open with a short video that Damien Dunkley, who did the seminar, produced. So let's take a quick look at the video.
Witnessing is love. True parents came to change the world. Fundamentally, they came to bless the world, one person or one family at a time. And we want to help, right? However, for many of us, saving the world seems too big a task. We may have doubts about our own abilities or where we are as a movement. We may find ourselves justifying slow progress with seemingly valid questions like, how can I share the divine principle? Or how can I guide or bless people? But what if we removed all of the distracting thoughts and self-limitations and simply ask ourselves, what can we do? I'm sure each of us will come to the same conclusion. We can love. Each of us has the power to share God's love with others. Chances are we're doing it already. We're all connected for a reason, and our relationships with each other are the vehicle through which God can work. Did you ever hear that saying that to accidentally bump shoulders with someone in the street takes 2,000 years of preparation? That means no relationship is random. If we were to ask God, who are the people we're supposed to be witnessing to or loving, what do you think the answer would be? The truth is, God has already brought tens or hundreds of people in your life. Aren't these the people He's asking you to start with? Let's take a look at the bigger picture here. Every family knows up to about 300 people. Counting all Unificationist families in America, that's about 1.5 million people. Imagine 1.5 million people in America right now who are only one step away from true parents. And that step is us. Okay, so that's where witnessing comes in, right? Well, the problem is there's a lot of people that don't feel like they really want to witness, and there's a reason for this. For a lot of us, the concept of witnessing doesn't feel authentic. A lot of us feel like witnessing means I've got to share a new theology with someone that I'm not really confident in teaching, let alone measuring up to myself. Or it's about inviting someone to a program that I don't really want to go to. It's easy to end up somewhere between a sense of guilt and resentment. But what if we rewrite these concepts? What if it's simply about creating a life that we love with God and allowing God to shine through us? What if witnessing to people simply means loving people? True Mother reminds us that our blessings should not remain only in our families. The purpose is to share them, and that witnessing is actually about the love that we sow. Love. Okay, so what is love? Well, the divine principle states that our original mind is stimulated when our actions pursue the values of truth, beauty, and goodness. That's why loving people feels good. It's not just about teaching people. Although we share the truth, we should also be manifesting beauty and goodness in our relationships in a balanced way. These are just a few examples, but you could think of this as a cheat sheet for intentional loving. If you just did one of these things for someone each day, not only will you enjoy it, but those people will become closer to God and true parents through that relationship. Imagine if you wrote down just 3 names and focused on loving those people intentionally for 1 year. Praying for them, calling them, listening to them, sharing your testimony with them. Imagine if we all did that. Imagine if that's all we did. Remember, it takes time because even we are still growing in our relationship with true parents. It's a process to grow closer to God, so it will be the same for others. It's a journey that we take together, and the pathway for this journey is love. Again, chances are that you're doing it already, so just imagine what would happen if we did it intentionally and consistently. That's what witnessing is. It's loving people.
Thank you. Good morning again. Interesting reflection that we had during the weekend. If you think about it, most of us in this room joined this movement over 20 years ago, let's say that. Some of it was maybe longer. But if you think about it, we didn't join this church because the pews were really nice and the church was air conditioned, right? We didn't join this church because the music, right, was really great, even though, of course, now our music is great, but that's not the reason we joined, is it? All right, and we didn't join because a pastor gave a great sermon every Sunday. You know, once a week we heard this great inspiring sermon. That's not why we joined this church. In fact, a lot of us, we look at the state our church is in now, we probably wouldn't join. Because what we joined was a movement to transform the world. And over this weekend, just a reminder to us was, that's who we are. That's what we're about, is our commitment to bringing transformation to the world. That's what the Unification movement is all about. It's not about a church that we can bring people to and get people to join. What we want is partners in building the kingdom, right? That's our goal and that's our mission. We joined this movement for the purpose of building the heavenly kingdom. That's our mission. That's what our lives are all about. So if you think about it, you know, when you joined, it was quite exciting. It was like, join the church, see the world, right? So how many of you are not originally from the United States? Right? Oh, okay. How many of you ever in your mission course left the city or the town that you were living? You know? Oh, yeah. How, you know, we traveled all over the world. The things were upside down. Life was quite exciting, often quite uncomfortable, quite difficult and challenging. And all the way through, we were fighting to overcome our fallen nature, to develop self-control and self-discipline, to grow our life and experience with God, our spiritual selves, our spiritual nature. We were an army of missionaries. And we gave up a lot. You know, we ran around, we traveled around just like crazy because we were in the army, right? We were out to change the world. And we still are. Our environment has changed. You know, the circumstances are, well, we have families, we're settled, we're in the age of settlement. But still, our commitment, our life, the reason we're here is because we want to bring change and healing and make a positive difference in this world. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes, I'm wearing the band, are they going to be okay this week? Oh, am I going to remember the sermon? Will we have enough food for the potluck? You know, those become the priorities. But what's our real priority? Are we transforming people's lives? Are we expressing God's love to people in a way that helps transform their lives? That's what our lives are about. That's where we're going to find the greatest joy. I mean, I get a lot of joy when the band sings really pretty songs up here, right? But real joy and fulfillment is when that music is transforming people's lives. And that's what we're about. That's who we really are. So, even back then, this concept of, I'm going to change the world. We're going to bring about change in the world. What? You know, there's like 5 or 10 people in a van traveling around the state. You're going to change the world? You know, a small group of very dedicated people is like, what? What are you thinking? You must be crazy thinking you can change the world. But we can. And where did we start? You know, even then and now, the place that we started transforming the world was with ourselves. The very beginning place was, how do I grow myself up? In Divine Principle Talk, with the 3 great purposes, the first purpose is to perfect our character. to become a person of true love. That's our first mission. And to change the world, first we have to master ourselves. Develop our own relationship and connection with God. So, what do? We make spiritual conditions. We make determinations. We set goals. We promise God. We make a condition. God, I'm going to pray for 7 days. I'm going to do a fast. I'm going to make a condition to meet at least one person a day. Our lives, we grew because we made promises that stretched us, that made us uncomfortable, but allowed us to move into realms that being comfortable would not allow us to be. But, most comfortable thing is just sitting home, and I'll sit in front of my TV, and, of course, that's for the guys. Sitting home and being grateful that my wife takes care of the house so well. Or maybe the wife is very grateful when the house is taken care of because the kids are doing it, right? Oh, you laughed. I got a good big laugh, right? Because the husband is taking care of it. So, anyway, our first challenge in life is not to be comfortable. It's to grow, to stretch ourselves. And we'll never stretch ourselves unless we put ourselves into situations where we're going to be uncomfortable, where we're going to be challenged and uncomfortable. And especially when we were living in the missionary army, lots of opportunities to feel uncomfortable, right? lots of challenges put forth. So somehow, when life gets more comfortable, we have to make a little bit more effort to challenge ourselves, to push ourselves beyond our comfort zone, the place that we're usually comfortable with. I still remember the sermon last year that the young people gave on getting outside of your comfort zone. Right? It's inspiring to hear young people say that. I think when you're young, you're a lot more interested. I want to stretch myself. I want to grow. When we get older, it's like, stretching. I don't know, my back might get pulled out. But we can't lose that spirit, right? We can't sit and be comfortable. Because also, as soon as you get comfortable, you're going to get bored to death. Just die. That's why we do things. Even in retirement, right? People don't just sit home and watch TV unless they want to die. They'll go out. Oh, let's get an RV. Let's travel. Let's go on vacation. Let's do things. Don't just sit. So as long as we're doing things and making a difference, then we're gaining energy and vitality. We're growing. So I'm putting before you, and I think the divine principle makes the case that as we grow in our own relationship with God, our own connection with God, that we are already making a difference in the world. We are changing the world. But of course, it doesn't stop there. Because the second blessing, right, is our relationship with people, especially in the family. So, again, we focused a lot on how do we fix relationships? How do we restore the dynamics of relationships between people? Unification terminology, we called it Cain-Abel relationship, right? You remember the Old Testament story, the first children of Adam and Eve, Cain, who didn't receive the blessing, Abel, who did receive the blessing from God. Cain gets jealous and angry. Abel is kind of arrogant and I'm so hot. And what does Cain do? Right? Kill him, right? So our challenge in our spiritual life is not to kill the people who are arrogant around us, right? Yeah, I know it's tough. There's so many of them. But on the other side of that, we have to be careful when we have the blessing, when we're in that position of leadership or guiding, or we have the blessing, that we're not the ones that are arrogant and pushing the buttons for the person who we should be helping and serving to make them want to kill us, right? So actually, we got both sides we've got to wrestle with. Sometimes I'm Cain, I'm feeling resentful and jealous. Sometimes I'm Abel and I'm feeling self-righteous and arrogant, right? Both sides we need to overcome. But also, even beyond that, from our unification understanding, we realize that our lives are much bigger than ourselves in our family. We believe profoundly in the influence of the spiritual world. That what we do is not just beneficial when we overcome challenges and temptations and difficulties. We're not just doing it for ourselves, but those who have a spiritual connection to us in the spirit world, especially our ancestors, but anyone who's part of the collective that we're connected to. We call it ancestral and collective sin that we're responsible for. Anytime we are victorious, we make a difference in the environment. The spiritual environment, but also I put before you, before the world. When Father Moon started emphasizing interracial and international marriages to break down the barriers between races and people, I thought, wow, what a crazy idea. But the challenges that a husband and wife face, especially from different cultures, different backgrounds, there's no small task, no small challenge there. But every victory he had made a difference spiritually in the environment of the world. Now, so far we're talking about kind of invisible stuff, right? You know, we work on ourselves and develop our character. You know, we work on our relationships, and of course, now that we're no longer missionaries, where's the first place that we're working on those relationships? At home, at the family, right? That's no shortage of challenges there, right? Parent to child, you know, child to parent, brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, you know, all of these dynamics. Every time we're victorious and we come out on top with love, we are changing the world. We're changing the spiritual environment of the world, and we're creating a more powerful condition for God and the heavenly spirit world to influence what's happening in the world. But that's all invisible stuff. We also need practical, real-life things that are making change in the world. That's the third great blessing, right? To have dominion over things in creation. We need to make practical things that change our environment, that shift it from this kind of unhealthy world that we're living in, especially when we think about for our children, but anyone. We don't want people living in a world that's poisonous and toxic to them. So how do we change the world? How do we heal the many hurts that there are? And every aspect of life is tainted by selfishness and greed and all kinds of just strange stuff that needs to be healed. This is why Father Moon created so many projects and programs. It's just, mind-boggling, all the things. There's the focus on, of course, on interreligious and interfaith work. Again, the religious people work together. But also education for politicians about communism, victory over communism, and the causa work. And then you have the media, the World Media Association, which eventually took journalists from, this is when the days of the Soviet Union, from the free world to the Soviet Union, and journalists from the Soviet Union to the West, and opened up the dialogue. This is during Gorbachev and Glasnost, and helped the process of opening up and transforming the Soviet Union through media outreach, sports, the International Cultural and Sports Festival, cultural activities, arts, the performing arts especially, business. Every aspect of life we want to impact. Now, an interesting thing that we explored in this workshop was, so how do you figure out, where do I fit in? What do I do? There's all these kinds. There's Women's Federation for World Peace. There's the Professors World Peace Academy for Peace. There's all of these different kinds of organizations and activities that we can do. So how do we choose? Well, we look for our gifts, our talents, and our passions, the things that are important to us. God's calling us right there. That's like the big clue. I think you should be doing this because that's what you love, because I gave you that love. I gave you that desire for that. Now, when we first joined the movement, many of us, especially back in the missionary pioneering days, there was this favorite expression: you have to give up your Isaac. Now you remember the story of Abraham and Isaac? Abraham, who was supposed to, God promises him he's going to have a son from Sarah who's really old. And eventually he does have a son. And so, Abraham is just so thrilled he has a son. But God says, I need you to sacrifice your son. What? What a profound, scary thing. That the most important, inspiring thing in my life, you want me to give that up? Well, oftentimes, that's what we said. Okay, I know you really love school. I know you really love art. I know you really love music. But that's your Isaac. You have to give it up for God's providence, for God's work. So why? Why did Abraham have to give up Isaac? Did Abraham give up Isaac? No. He offered him up so that God could claim him. We offer up our passions, our talents, our gifts, our interests to God so that God can claim them and then work even more powerfully through us to make a difference in the world. Isaac did not stay on the altar. Our gifts, our talents, and our passions, they're not meant to, deny that forever. No, God gave you those gifts and talents. God wants you to use those to make a positive difference in the world. So sometimes I need to think a little bit hard about what is it that I really like? And how can I use that for God? How does God do that? Actually, we did exercise. It was fun. Actually, we should probably do some seminar like this in our community. But we went through reflection. Okay, think about what were the things in life that make you happy when you're doing it, that you feel joy in doing it. So I was thinking, and I was remembering, actually before the church, I was involved a lot in the holistic healing movement. Movement and dance and music and art and massage and herbs and all that kind of natural healing stuff. And when I really reflected, that was really my passion, and it kind of got transferred because I could see the work that I was doing was about healing. But when I thought about it, I said, I really miss the kind of movement, the therapy that happened through dance and movement and exercise, that kind of stuff. And reflecting on it, and so even while I'm doing this sermon, I'm thinking, oh yeah. And Peter and I were having a conversation the other day about a rock band. One of my old favorite rock bands from way back. Some people may remember because he's had a comeback. But, Santana, Carlos Santana. And there was a period, like in the 1970s, I know some of you weren't born in the 1970s, but in the 1970s when he went from being a blues rocker more into jazz into a Buddhist who was following Sri Chinmoy. And so his music took on this really spiritual quality, and the content of the words and stuff were so uplifting. I just loved that period. It was like, wow. It was a little bit too jazzy for me, but I love the words, and I still loved his soaring guitars. So, and listening to it, and then remembering the movement and using movement to just get into touch with the emotions and the feelings that I was experiencing. Last week, we also saw Misaki and Miho in performance, their dance performance, and I'm watching them going, I want to dance. I want to dance. I mean, it's a bit different than my style. I'm not that jazzy or hip hop, but just the power of movement to bring energy in my life. And I got reawakened and rekindled to that. So I decided I'm going to quit pastoring and I'm going to join a dance company. Maybe not. But these legs don't move like they used to. So don't think that's in the cards. But looking at, okay, how can I offer that to God? And how can I use that? And especially because, I gave up on performing. I wasn't that enthusiastic. It was the using movement as a way of experiencing deeper connection with God, more harmony between my mind and body, and healing. So it's like, wow. I think each one of us has areas like that. Some people came up with, it was being in the forest, and I really wanted to be a forester, living in the forest. Or crafts. I really love doing crafts. Or I like cultural things, being able to share culture with other people. Or building things, like building houses and making things, fixing things. All of us have different interests, different talents, different passions that God's given us. That God's hoping we will use to make a change in the world around us. To make a positive difference in the world around us. It all starts with us, in our home, in our family, and then expands out to our tribe and our community. Here's from Father Moon. He says, until now, you may have thought that home church is just an institution of the Unification Church. But that is not so. Home church in the Unification Church is your personal heavenly kingdom. It is your kingdom, not anyone else's but yours. So in your personal heavenly kingdom, what will you be doing? You'll be acting out, living out, and fulfilling all the gifts, the passions, the things that bring you the greatest joy in your life with God at the center. Yes? No? Oh, that sounds like a bad idea. I don't know. I don't hear a whole lot of enthusiasm. Shouldn't our homes be the beginning place of the heavenly kingdom?
Absolutely.
Right, where our passions and our joys are most fulfilled and expressed?
Yes.
Yeah. So, let me continue. Father Moon says, the keys to the kingdom of heaven are in the home church movement. In other words, we must establish tribes, and it is our mission through home church, starting with our family, right? Our home and our family, to present a model of the tribal system. So, what we're about is bringing change to the world, beginning with myself, my family, my home, but spreading that through especially my passions and my interest to the world. We are committed to promoting a culture of peace based on universal values. Values that cut across all people, all religions, all races, all cultures. Divine values that people can resonate with. And these are the core principles that we talk about in the Universal Peace Federation. Right? Remember these 5 points. God. Number 1 is connection, knowing, and experiencing God as a living reality in our life, and a deep, profound, loving relationship with God of a parent-child relationship. 2, that we're spiritual beings. This physical world is not all there is. We live after this, and the quality of our spiritual life is shaped by what we do in the physical world. So understand that we're spiritual beings, that we have an eternal spirit. Also the desperate importance of marriage and family as places where we learn about love and we learn about God. So that we need to lift that up. Right now, marriage and family, it's like, you don't really need to get married. We can just live together. Yeah, you can. And you can have deep relationships. But marriage is a commitment that you're making not just to each other, but to God and to your community. That you are creating something new that will be a force for good in the larger environment. And society needs that. We need that to be a healthy society. I certainly know that guys need that to be healthy. There's lots of studies that talk about how unhealthy men are until they get into marriage, and suddenly, they become responsible. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to my wife, to my family. And I would say, on a different side also for women too. But that hope that we have of fulfillment, finding that partnership, the team, an eternal team that's going to be a team. So it's no longer, I'm going to go out and do my passions. We as a team are going to accomplish things together as a family. And then, of course, the idea of living for the benefit of others. Service. We're going to find joy and fulfillment in life when we're making a positive difference for others, when we're serving people. And service is the key component. People just think, I just want everybody to serve me, are not going to be happy people. They're going to be miserable. When I do things that make a benefit to other people, I feel joy. It heals me. It strengthens me. And then the last one is that we've got to get past the conflict. We need to cooperate. We need to work together. We need to communicate. It's kind of really sad that in America now we've become so extremely polarized. Father Moon, way back when he started the Washington Times, he says, there's right wing and there's left wing. There's some good stuff in the more liberal kind of thinking. And there's some good stuff, righteous stuff in the conservative way of thinking. But either one of them is not enough. So what do you say? Right wing, left wing, we need? Head wing, right? We need to understand the good stuff of both and bring them together. Head wing. This is what we need to be. Head wing people. But even now, it's harder even to talk with someone. A Republican and Democrat, it's very difficult to have a civil conversation without getting into extreme positions and fighting. This isn't going to help our country. Both extremes. Now, I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican, but the fact that the people in my office are, they're Bernie Sanders supporters. Far left, right? So we've got different extremes, but how can we, as unificationists, whether we're more liberal or more conservative, left or right, whatever, how do we be people who promote communication? Communication, cooperation. Recognize, okay, there's differences. Let me try to understand your point of view. Please, let's try to understand each other's point of view and see if we can't find something that works. Because definitely there's stuff, a lot of complaints I have about a lot of people who represent a conservative view. Along with a lot of people who represent a very liberal point of view. And there's a lot of things I agree with on both sides. So, cooperation, and especially if we're going to bring peace in the world, that means we need to be able to work together, to compromise, to make way centered on these kinds of principles. The value of the family, that we're spiritual beings, that God is the ultimate source for everything, and that service and living for the benefit of others is how we're all going to be fulfilled and find joy and happiness. So how do we change the world? We're going to change the world by promoting a culture, this kind of culture, of peace based on universal values. Starting with my life, starting with my own life, starting with my family, and expanding to my tribe, the people around me, my home church, but then my community, the people, the friends that, like you saw in the video, the friends, the people that I interact with in the world around me. So what we need is not more members of Sacramento Valley Family Church. What we need are more partners in building a heavenly kingdom. We need people who are interested in working together. Now, to the degree that they decide, oh yeah, I really want to study divine principle more, great. But even if they don't, we want to find common bases so that we can bring the healing that this world needs. We're not going to do it by getting everyone to join our church and coming to church on Sundays. No, I hope you don't stop coming to church on Sundays. I'm very happy to see you. It's a chance when we all get together in fellowship. But that's not our most important mission. Our most important mission is being people who represent and spread a culture and help other people of like minds and desires to multiply goodness however they can, through their church, through their organizations, whatever. There's not enough of us to do everything. In fact, we need a lot of different perspectives to be able to solve everything, and skills and talents. So this is why we need partnership. This is why we use the term tribe, And maybe, at the end of this we'll all face paint up and we'll dance around. No. That's not the kind of tribe that we need. The tribe is the people we have association and connection with. Our extended family. Especially in America, we're very much individualists. Okay, I myself, I'm going to go out and do this, and I'm going to go do that. But actually, the real model is, I myself am not alone. I have my family. Okay, that's the first partnership that I have. But then, not just my family is doing it, my family together with other families. And that thinking we need to have in our mind, even in our community, among church members, but also our friends that have a like mind and desire and passions. People we have passions in common with. We want to work together to bring healing to this world, to bring change to this world. That's what's so important. So, just like Eric said, last week, we need to invite people. Right? We're inviting people to participate in building the kingdom. We invite them to church. We invite them to our small group fellowship activities. We invite and encourage them to evaluate their spiritual life, to grow. We want to support people in their own spiritual life, in growth and development. And we want to support people in serving others, in making a difference in the areas that they're passionate about, the areas that they care about. That's how we're going to change the world. So, witnessing is loving. Loving is witnessing. So, just to remind us, we share the truth, we share beauty, and we do acts of goodness. People who love, if we're really going to love people, we share the truth, we share our testimony, we share our understanding. We bring beauty by being grateful, also by listening to people, bringing beauty, being a good object, letting people share their hearts and supporting them, and goodness by service, by doing stuff. Not just thinking about it, not just talking about it, but actually getting out there and doing it. I'm going to close with this from Father Moon. Love your brothers and sisters in the church as you love God. Your path to heaven begins there. Those who can teach you the quickest and best way to heaven are neither God nor I, but your brothers and sisters. If you strive to love them with a love greater than their love for their parents or spouses, you will be chosen as a supreme subject partner of love. Please join me in prayer. Good morning, Father, Mother, God, our loving Heavenly Parent. We are so grateful for your presence and your working in our lives. And as we look at the world around us, we sometimes, Heavenly Parent, get so frustrated and even feel despaired. And repent before you that many times we want to just give up and live our small lives. But you called us. From the moment we were born, you called each and every one of us to amazing, great things. You gifted each one of us with passions, desires, and talents to bring a powerful healing and positive influence in the world. Oh, Heavenly Parent, I'm so sorry. When we look at our lives, we repent before you how easily we squandered the gifts and the blessings that we have. Heavenly Parent, please guide us as we reflect even now those areas of passion, those areas of gifts and talents and interests that you've given us. And please guide us that we can see how we can bring that into our daily life, into our daily activities, that we can truly be the sons and daughters that you can count on to build a community that multiplies your love. Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for never giving us, for your precious love. And we want to determine ourselves again, as those sons and daughters, to be your instruments in bringing healing and transformation to this world. We thank you, and as your sons and daughters, and as blessed central families, we offer up this prayer in our time. Amen and adieu. All right, so let's build that heavenly culture. Amen? Amen. Adieu.